I think for me, the aggressive price point which they started really speaks tons about their commitment, right? They're going to suffer more losses because they're starting out at a lower price, and also just the sheer volume of content they're committing to in the first couple of years. The Simpsons on there. They bought back a lot of movie rights from other people. So the idea is bigger on the content side, and yet the pricing is lower. So I think people have to look out now, 3-4 years as they guided to, about how big this opportunity can be. So I thought they did a really good job of getting you to look past those losses and thinking about the long-term asset that's being built. So I thought it was a really smart strategy how they just laid it all out for you.
Yeah, in light of that, Michael, and I realize they don't expect to be profitable, the streaming service is profitable until 2024. A lot of detail there, but are you surprised to see the stock up 9%? It's a huge move for this name.
Yeah, Morgan, I thought it was going to be up like 4 or 5. I actually did. I think people were positive about the investor day, but they were nervous that the hype about it wouldn't be justified, right? So I thought it was a good day. It was really positive. The vibe in the room. You guys probably heard there was a gasp when they put up their price point. The room kind of gasped. When they put up their targets for subscribers, people were also did a double take. So I thought there was really positive energy, but I'm surprised. I'm really pleased because for years we've been telling people, Disney can do this. They have the assets. But I think just in a day you had a real change in sentiment, and you see the follow-through today. So I think this is the beginning of what's going to be a re-look by investors at what Disney could be 3-4 years from now.
Michael, given that, what are the implications for Apple and anybody else, no matter how much money they've got, who might want to freshly enter this space without a big back catalog and charge any kind of a monthly price that's significant for their content? Can they do it now?
That's a great question. And we've been pointing that out for a while. You mentioned the key asset, which is library, right? I think investors don't realize the value of libraries. And we've been pointing that out as well and saying, look at what drove Netflix at the beginning. It wasn't originals. In the first 4 years of Netflix's life, it was catalog, right? And they got to 25 million subs in America without really 1 or 2 shows. So our feeling is for an Apple to play this game, it's going to be really hard because they don't have that flywheel of back library, right? And even Amazon, people go to Amazon for 1 or 2 good shows, but there's no continuity of viewing, right? You don't go back to Amazon to just spend time with the service. So I think what Disney has done is they've showed you the value of their library, and I think it's really hard for others to play this game. Now, one of the names we've been talking about for a while is AT&T with HBO. If AT&T was smart, they would use the Warner Library to make HBO a better service. But at this point, they're going in a different direction. But you're right about library, and that to me is like the hidden value of all these companies.
Well, by that logic, does that mean good things for the likes of Viacom and our own parent with Universal or not?
Well, it's interesting. So we upgraded CBS to a buy this year because we started looking at CBS's value and saying, CBS has a ton of library TV content that another service would use. I think when it comes to those other companies, NBCU has got to commit to what Disney is committed to. I don't think they will. So far, what we heard of them, they want to build an AVOD service, not an SVOD service. And Viacom's doing some interesting things around the edges. They bought Pluto TV. So I think everyone's now realizing that there's 2 flavors here. There's an SVOD, which is what Disney and Netflix are, and then there's advertising video on demand, which is where Viacom and NBC are playing. So the question longer term will be, will they pull back more library content from the likes of Netflix, or they continue selling to Netflix? Because at some point, you have to be all in, I think, to get the street's attention, and that's what Disney did yesterday.
Michael, near term and long term, how do you think this plays out with Hulu? We know the aspirations to bundle all 3 of these streaming services potentially longer term, but you do have these multiple stakeholders in addition to Disney. How do you think all of that shakes out?
Yeah, Morgan, it's a good question. I heard David before, and I asked him yesterday, you had not talked about Hulu International. Why haven't you done that? And they said, well, we have partners in Hulu. I think what you'd like to do if you're Disney is you'd want to build out Hulu as much as you can on other people's dimes. At some point, and you guys were right when we were talking about it, I think it makes sense to have a more connected service, Hulu and Disney Plus. But I think you don't do it until you can get the ownership structure cleaned up. we'll see what happens, because if they start going internationally, especially into Europe, will Comcast want to be in that partnership? Will they want to support the partnership? Or they say, look, that's probably not what we want to do, and we're willing to cash out. So the Hulu partnership question is a key overhang here. And I think if Disney can get more control of Hulu, I think it's a better win for Disney than anything else.
Finally, Michael, as you know, the bear arguments recently have come from analysts who thought that the Fox deal was always too expensive and that somehow that library was dilutive to Disney's family-friendly brand. Any relevant or any legitimacy to that point?
Well, I would say yesterday you saw Nat Geo, you saw Simpsons, which is surprising because I was really interested in where the Simpsons were going to wind up, and then you saw some Fox, shows and movies. But to me, it comes back to Hulu. Like, I think the Hulu asset, with all that Fox TV content and Disney content in one hand, that's when, to me, the ultimate value is on the Fox asset, is controlling both Fox's TV content and Hulu globally. So what we saw yesterday is the beginning of it, and I heard Bob say to David, that he would not have done the DTC strategy without Fox. I think there's more to come when it comes to Hulu and Fox. So, I've always judged, look, I've been wrong. Past when Disney's done a deal, like Marvel, I remember very well saying, wow, that's an expensive deal. But they proved us wrong. Anytime they bought IP, they proved us wrong, right? And you can go back and read all the analyst reports, Pixar, Marvel, like we were saying that's a crazy deal. But they know what they're doing when it comes to managing and monetizing IP. So you can't judge them on the first year of this. It's going to be a 5-year view.